Hey, Converted Man here, going live to do this video. I just noticed it was a thing in my mentions. Thinking Christian, who I responded to a while ago, I guess, made a video, and you know, uh, I was tagged in it, so I saw that because of that. And he could have emailed me for clarification directly, but he didn't do that for whatever reason. So he made this video, and 2 weeks ago or so, and I'm gonna respond to it live. So it's not gonna be like an in-depth analysis per se, or breaking down all the fallacies, if any, like I did with that video I just made. So what is what it is. Let's check it out. Are arguments evidence? No. Thanks for watching, everybody. Okay.
Are arguments evidence? This is what we're going to look at. Deconverted Man made a response to one of my videos, and he said, many apologists that I've heard tend to think that arguments are evidence. They're not. So his claim is arguments are not evidence. They do not provide evidential support.
No. That's not what the sentence says. The sentence says that people think arguments are evidence, not that they don't provide evidential support. A clear reading of that would suggest that argument does not equal evidence. Again, could have clarified this via me rather easily through email, deconvertedman1@gmail.com, but instead, no. Also, why didn't you screenshot that? Like, I mean, I probably wrote it, but I don't know why you didn't screenshot it or reference the video or anything. So, oh well. No, arguments by themselves, in and of themselves, are not evidence. They may contain things that are evidence, but by themselves, in and of themselves, the argument is not the evidence. The evidence is the evidence. So arguments can provide a reason to look into things matter, but the evidence contained within the argument is evidence on its own and wouldn't need any argument because you would have the evidence. And I clarified in the comments, you can't go to the bank and give them an argument for having an amount of money in your account. So you can't just go to the bank teller and say, hey, I have $1 million in my account, or the bank isn't open. The bank is open, therefore, I must have $1 million in my account. That's not evidence that you have money in your account. That's all that statement means.
And I disagree with this. I think this is categorically wrong and misguided. So we're going to address this question. But I also think maybe I'm misunderstanding the claim, because to me this seems so obviously wrong that I feel like I may be misunderstanding what's being said here.
Oh, why didn't you email me instead of doing a video? I could have clarified it very simply. Oh, instead, do a video that I'll only notice if I happen to look at my mentions. Don't even let me know about the video or anything. Just make it on your own. Yeah, okay, yeah.
So let's look at some definitions of evidence. Merriam-Webster defines evidence as an outward sign, something that furnishes proof, and or one who bears witness.
All right, Merriam-Webster. Let's see, evidence. Okay. Don't know why we're using Merriam-Webster, but okay, fine, whatever. By the way, you want to be careful when using dictionaries that you don't do the fallacy of appeal to definition. So that's the University of Pittsburgh. That will come later when I bring that up. Let's see. There we go. Merriam-Webster. Okay, let's see. Outward sign, an indication, something that furnishes proof, i.e., testimony, specifically something legal submitted to a tribunal or to ascertain the truth of the matter. So, yeah, that's evidence in a trial. one who bears witness, especially one who voluntarily confesses a crime and testifies for the persecution against one's accomplices. So that, again, would reference only to evidence in court. In fact, a lot of this seems tied to courtroom things rather than anything else. But that's evidence as a noun. What's it as a verb? Okay, to offer evidence of, prove, and vice. To be seen, conspicuous, trim lawns are everywhere in evidence. So it's not a lot to go on, which is why you don't stop at one dictionary. You look at just evidence definition. Let's see. All right. The available body of facts or information indicating whether a belief or proposition is true or valid. That would have ruined your whole video, though, wouldn't it? To be or show evidence of. That has been populated from prehistoric times, evidenced by the remains of Neolithic buildings. Yeah, so there you go. Let's see. There's Webster's. There's Cambridge. One or more reasons for believing that something is or is not true. Evidence, definition, and meaning. That which tends to prove or disprove something. You know what none of these dictionaries say? Also see argument. That argument is a subplant for the word evidence, that the two are interchangeable in any way, shape, or form. Let's look at argument definition, because that might be a good thing to do, don't you think? Let's see. An exchange of diverging or opposite views, typically a heated or angry one. Well, that's not what we mean by argumentation in this case. A reason or set of reasons given with the aim of persuading others that an action or idea is right or wrong. That's what we mean by argument. So, is that a reason, a set of reasons, is that evidence? No, obviously not. Now, can you find any definition of argument that leads into evidence or evidence that leads into argument? Probably not. So, we want to be careful, though, in not appealing to just the dictionary to say, well, that's obviously what those words mean. Because they can mean something to somebody else, but what this means is that, by and large, the majority of people, however many people that might be that the dictionaries in question use to finalize their definitions, accept or understand these words to be this thing. And in this case, because they're abstract objects of the mind, they don't, argument doesn't exist out there. It only exists in your brain. And evidence, well, actually, evidence can exist in reality, but the concept cannot. The concept only exists in your brain. Well, I guess that's in reality, but nonetheless. Okay. So, by those definitions, no. The arguments are not evidence, and evidence is not an argument. Evidence might have an argument that you have for it, or an argument might contain evidence, but the two are not conjoined. Very simple. Oh wait, no, I have some more. Hold on. Not quite done with this. Just because I'm lazy, ChatGPT actually would do my job for you. If you don't want to email me, just check with ChatGPT. It's fairly decent. Are arguments evidence? So, arguments are statements or claims made by individuals to support a particular position or point of view. They typically consist of a claim or assertion along with reasons and evidence to support that claim. Right. Arguments are not evidence in and of themselves, but they can be used to present and analyze evidence. There you go. Evidence is factual information, data, or proof that supports a claim or assertion. Evidence can take various forms, like documents, statistics, expert testimony, physical objects, eyewitness accounts, and so on. Although I wouldn't use eyewitness accounts or testimony, whether it be expert or otherwise. But in a formal argument, evidence is used to substantiate the claims being made. So then it goes on for there that things are important. And all you had to do was, just do that. Just put it in ChatGPT and you wouldn't have made this video. But you didn't do that, nor did you email me. So here we go. Oh, right. That's right. I was going to show the other thing finally. I finally get around to the thing here on Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, where I'll go ahead and link this in the description below. It goes into detail about arguments, claims, reasons, and evidence, and explains in more depth what evidence is and what testimony or appeals to authority is, and so it's just more information in general. But as far as it being obviously evident to you that this is so well understood, that's not an argument that is valid or sound. What you think is correct is not relevant. Only what is true is relevant.
And if you're Bayesian or Bayesian epistemologist, this is usually the formulation that you would see. This is what Emerson Green uses. And I like this as well, right? E is evidence for H if and only if the probability of H conditioned on E is greater than the probability of H.
Yeah, well, I disagree with that. So, screw the Bayesians, I guess. I mean, all I can really do is disagree with it. I can't necessarily refute that per se, because there's so many problems with this, okay? Because the probability would have to be shown, and then how would you figure out the probability? So I guess I'd have questions about that particular system, but whatever. Arguments are not evidence in the sense that arguments equal evidence. Well, there you go. Then you don't need to make a video. You understand it. You understand what I'm saying right there. That bottom thing right there. That thing right there. That part, you got it. That's it. That's all I mean.
So when we're claiming that arguments provide evidential support or arguments are evidence, we don't mean this in the sense that arguments are, exactly equal to evidence in every case. It's necessary and sufficient for, an argument to be evidence, but arguments are a form of evidence.
No, evidence is a form of evidence. The argument is not evidence, nor is it a form of evidence. The evidence is evidence. You keep switching that around. I don't know why you keep doing that. It's not a form of evidence. It's not a type of evidence. Evidence means that you already, even using the one dictionary you provided here, which I don't know why you just did one rather than several, and get at least a common theme throughout those dictionaries to help you out. But again, that would have ruined this video, wouldn't it? Because you'd have different definitions, and those definitions wouldn't allow you to make a video. So much easier to go with a single definition from a single source than to look at several sources. I mean, I pulled up two. My second one negated this one. So that's why we shouldn't appeal to just the dictionaries. All right? But if we took all the dictionary definitions for the word evidence and the word argument, and we compared them and said, okay, what's the commonality here? We would see nothing that links these two things together. Evidence can be in an argument, but an argument is not a form of evidence. Otherwise, that it just becomes incoherent. So you're saying arguments are a form of evidence. They're not, but let's see you defend that.
So I'm going to defend two claims in this short video. The first claim, arguments are a form of evidence, and claim number two, the presentation of evidence is always implicitly an argument.
The presentation of evidence is an argument. No. An argument is an argument. That's the law of identity. Now you're just going way off kilter here. I wonder what ChatGPT would have to say about that, just for fun. You know, because I mean, if he's not gonna be bothered to be more in depth with what he's saying, then neither am I guess. Presentation of evidence is implicitly an argument. Is this correct? Let's see, presentation of of evidence is implicitly an argument. Let's see what chat. Let's see. Alright, let's bring that up. I even misspelled it, but ChatGPT just doesn't care. I love ChatGPT. So simple. Let's see. The statement, the presentation of evidence is implicitly argument, is not necessarily correct, like I said. The presentation of evidence is a critical component of many arguments. They are not the same thing. And the relationship between evidence and arguments is nuanced. Evidence, as mentioned previously, is factual information, data, or proof that supports a claim or assertion. Evidence can be presented to provide support for an argument, but evidence in and of itself is not an argument. It's more accurate to say that evidence is used within an argument to strengthen or support the argument's claims. And I'm just going to copy that and just go ahead and put that in here in response to thing, and then attribute it to ChatGPT because laziness. Yay. Anyways, so no to everything you said, but keep going. Dig yourself in deeper. I love it.
So let's go ahead and get started. The claim that we want to address here is arguments do not provide evidential support.
No, I never made that claim, so this is a straw man. And this is your own thing that you're going against. No, argument by itself is not evidence. Provide evidential support. I wouldn't phrase it that way. Because not necessarily. Not all arguments are going to have evidence in them. Certainly synthetic arguments are not evidential in and of themselves. Like A equals B, B equals C, A equals C. That's a formulaic thing. It's true because it can't not be true. You're dealing with axioms there. But A, B, and C are all things that are in the mind. They're not, out there in the real world. You can't pick up an A. You can pick up a thing that looks like an A, but it's not A. There is no A in the universe in that sense. It's just an object of the mind. It's just an idea, a concept. So that wouldn't be evidence in and of itself. So the arguments don't necessarily contain evidence. They might contain axioms. They might contain statements that are not known to be true or false, that cannot be analyzed as such. They also might be hypothetical syllogism, in which case then the argument is providing speculation in regards to what it's providing rather than any actual evidence. If X is true, then Z is true. Well, that's not evidence of X or Z because it's saying if. So arguments don't necessarily have evidence in them would be a better way to say that, I guess. Nor do arguments always provide evidential support. But sometimes I guess you could say that an argument doesn't provide evidential support because the evidence provides the evidential support. The argument is simply used to resolve whether or not the statements are valid and sound. That's all it is. An argumentation is simply a set of a list of ideas that we apply the system of informal logic to then reveal whether or not the argument is valid and sound. So that's it. That none of that can be evidence. Anyways, he disagrees with his own construct straw man, and I really don't care because I don't agree with that statement either.
Suppose, let me give an example. Suppose I make a claim that mortals die, and I want to ask, will Socrates die, or what is the probability of Socrates dying?
That's it's 100% if he's mortal. It's 100% that he will die at some point. It's just silly. I don't know why do this appeal to meaningless statistics and probability. I don't get that. I don't understand that. Why? This sort of probability, and if it's just 1% probable, then you should lower your expectations of evidential support, because even if it's 1% true, then it's worth risking, Anyways,
Let's say premise 1, all men are mortal. Premise 2, Socrates is a man. Conclusion, therefore Socrates is immortal.
Right. And nothing there is the argument is not evidence that men are mortal. Men being mortal is its own statement in and of itself, which you need evidence for. That's how that works. And because no counter evidence has ever been found for men being mortal, then it's taken as an axiom that all men are indeed mortal. This isn't universals are, you got to be careful with universals in argumentation, of course, but the statement that all men are mortal has never been challenged as far as I'm aware. Now, of course, if you're a Christian, perhaps you would challenge all men are mortal, because at least one man, if not more, wasn't mortal, it turns out. Jesus died, but he didn't stay dead. He came back to life. So I don't think that counts as being mortal, at least not exactly. But other people have died and come back to life, but eventually they do die and stay dead. Jesus supposedly didn't die after he came back the second time, although I guess him going into heaven would be death, because he's not on earth anymore, so, but he's not dead either, so I don't know. And then Lazarus, well, he came back from the dead, but then eventually he did die, so I guess he is mortal, just temporarily revived from death. So Jesus is the only man that's immortal, but then you see he's not fully a man, so then the statement is saved from that possible counter example. Scott Duke, arguments are evidence. I know, but he thinks they are. So you're gonna have to go to his video and to explain to him that he's wrong, even though I've done so and am doing so again. So anyways,
wouldn't we say that this argument provides evidential support to the argument Socrates has or will die? I think
no, we wouldn't. No, we would not. You might. I wouldn't.
fact that we can provide this argument would give us a reason to shift our evidential support in favor of Socrates dying if we accept the claim mortals die.
Well, if you accept the claim that mortals die, wow. So, what, are you going to counter that claim somehow? I mean, okay. If premise 1 is, look, it's all A or B, okay, C is A, and my brain's going to break. C is then B. There we go. I almost broke my brain there. But yeah, no, this isn't evidence that that's the case. It's valid and sound, however, and that means that the conclusion is valid. The fact that this argument is valid and sound means that we can trust the conclusion. The reason that we know it's valid and sound That's what you're missing out on. All men are mortal is a claim about the nature of reality itself that has to be backed up with evidence of some sort. And we have ample evidence that men are mortal at our disposal and no counter evidence to that. So then we say the thing, whatever that is, X, belongs to the category of things that are mortal. So as long as that's true, then that thing is a thing that's mortal as well. And that's it. But it's not evidential. It just means the argument is valid and sound. You need to learn informal logic.
This is the part I don't understand when people say arguments are not evidence, that arguments can be used to make an evidential case, because if people agree with the premises and the conclusion comes out supporting one side or another, then you're going to accept the conclusion.
If they agree with the premises is irrelevant in an argumentation regarding informal logic, because agreeing with the premise doesn't make the premise true or false. Is the premise true or false? That's the question. So at no point in this particular syllogism are either premises in question or have a counterexample. Now, Socrates might be a cat, but then we would need evidence that Socrates is a cat. But if we're not talking about Socrates the cat, we're talking about Socrates the man. And we have a man named Socrates at our disposal for an example. And we say, well, look, we know that people are mortal. We know that men are mortal. He belongs to that category. Therefore, he is that thing. But the evidence that men are mortal is not the argument, nor does it give more weight to the fact that men are mortal. What an argument being evidence would look like is premise 1, all men, conclusion, are mortal. I mean, that would be it. You know, it's just, it wouldn't even be an argument anymore. It would just be the first premise. But you wouldn't even need that because you wouldn't need an argument, because you have the evidence that men are mortal. You go, hey, look, that guy died. That dude died. That guy died. That guy died. See that dude? They died. Look, we've got a hospital. Here's all the people that have... We got this graveyard over here. There's a funeral home. You know, we got some, you know, let's see if we can set up a viewing of an autopsy or something. Yeah, people die. Okay, so we got the example. We have the evidence. We don't need an argument at all, because the evidence beats the argument. But when the argument's valid and sound, then the conclusion follows that. And the validness is the structure, and I always get these two mixed up. Yes. And the soundness is whether or not it contains any logical fallacies. If it doesn't, it's sound. It can be structured correctly, but not be sound. So the soundness is really the important part of an argument. Unfortunately, what I was talking about when I mentioned that evidence or that arguments aren't evidence is the fact that every single apologist that I've run across, without any exception to it, has had at least, well, okay. How do I say this? Because I just said a superlative. Okay, I'll retract it. Like, the majority of apologists that have apologetic videos that have said evidence for God or evidence for Jesus or evidence for the resurrection or evidence for fill in the blank has not been about evidence, but instead has contained one or more arguments. That's why I say this, because I want the theists, the apologists, to not say they have evidence when they don't have evidence. All you guys have are arguments. The things in your arguments that you think are evidence that point at God, that's a different story. We can look at that and we can tell you whether or not it does or doesn't point to God. And so far, none of the arguments have done that. And because there's a problem with God. There's a problem with God and logic. And the problem is that unlike men being mortal that we have ample examples of, we do not have an example of a God. We have an example of claims about God and what God is or isn't. Claims made by humans, but we do not have the God itself to verify if those claims are sound or unsound. So at best, any argument for God would have to be a hypothetical syllogism. But it would never be evidence, no matter what you do. And you're just going to tie yourself in knots trying to make it be evidence when it isn't.
Now, arguments obviously don't necessarily cause things in themselves to be more probable, in the sense that me giving you this argument doesn't affect the underlying probability of Socrates dying.
Forget about this whole probability nonsense, okay? I don't know where that comes from, and I don't know. Maybe that's Bayesian. I don't know. Just forget about that stuff, okay? You're going, I don't know. You're going off kilter into red herring-ish territory, perhaps. Okay, it's either true or false. That's it. I don't need a well, is it more probable or less probable? Nah, that's why I do informal logic. It saves me all that effort and energy. Okay? If the argument sucks because of one or more fallacies, I don't even bother looking at the conclusion. That is to say, I'm not going to spend my time and energy to investigate the conclusion until the person fixes the argument. It saves me some time. Not a lot of time, but it saves me some time. Now, you go to the used car dealer. The used car dealer says, this car is amazing. It's never been driven before. Or, may God strike me dead. And God doesn't strike them dead. And you go, okay, well, that's fairly convincing of an argument, and it might be for you. But it's not evidence. Evidence would be documentation on the car. And even that might not be good enough. But if he did offer documentation, then he doesn't need to give you an argument at all. He just needs to give you documentation.
But it often increases our reason for thinking something is true. So this is the distinction between ontology and epistemology. Me giving you a reason to believe something may shift your probability judgment of thinking something is true, or may change your idea of belief. Our arguments can be used to persuade somebody of a certain belief.
I agree that arguments certainly can be used to persuade people. Even broken, malformed arguments can do that. Probability and all this, I just sit to the side because I really don't care. It's either true or false, and I don't need, well, maybe it's more true than false. No, it's either going to be true or false. That's it. If you don't have the evidence of the thing itself, I don't care. You're talking about an object of the mind then. That's it. That's what God is, by the way, as far as I can tell, is an object of the mind. It exists in our brain. That's it. And until we have actual evidence of the thing itself, we're never going to have evidence of the thing itself. Many apologists think that they have evidence, but they never have evidence. They have arguments. They have arguments that they think point to God or make the probability of God increase. But you can't do that for something that you have no evidence for. That's the problem. That's why you need to learn informal logic. Just get rid of this whole notion of probability. He's going to bring it up again, so I'm done complaining about it. Whatever. It's either true or false. That's it. That's all we need to worry about.
even if the argument itself doesn't have any indication on the truth of this. And this is the same as any sort of evidence, right? Empirical evidence. My providing evidence doesn't make the underlying event itself more likely to be true, but it may make reasons for believing it better. You may.
If you have empirical evidence, then there's no likeliness of it being true. It is true because the empirical evidence is the evidence that the thing is the thing. It's like, it's just, okay. If you provide empirical evidence, then that's all you need to do. I accept it. It's not a matter of believing it either, by the way. It's just complete, utter acceptance that that's true. For example, I can see your head in the top left corner of your screen, and it looks like maybe there's a cat behind you. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to zoom in. Is that a cat? I don't know. No, maybe it's a blanket. What is that? Okay, it's either a cat on blankets, or it's a bunch of blankets that kind of looks like a cat on top of other blankets. I'm not sure, but I have evidence, definitely of you. I can at least see you. You are empirical evidence of you. Okay? That's what it is. So, it's not a matter of I believe that you're there. I have no choice but to accept that you're there.
Believe that Colonel Mustard stabbed Jane in the in the library with the bloody knife. But if I provide you with the bloody knife with his fingerprints on it, that provides more reasons for believing that this is true. The other thing, if we look at this claim, our syllogism will have previously established Socrates has or will die as proof.
That's not how I would word it. And it hasn't established that as proof because that's not what a syllogism does. Socrates is a man. That's also evidence. Or him being a man is something that you would have evidence for. You'd have evidence that men are mortal. So then you go, oh, those two combined, there you go. He's mortal. He's gonna die eventually. So there you go. It's not, oh jeez, whatever, okay.
Proof. And thus, by Webster's definition, this counts as evidence because it furnishes the proof of a statement given the premises.
No. But by other definitions, it doesn't count as evidence. See what appealing to a dictionary does? That's the problem. So, I don't know. Don't appeal to dictionary. Don't appeal to... Next time. Also, run your script through ChatGPT. It will save me from doing a video. No idea why you didn't just ask me about this. I mean, anyways. Alright, anyways, so, again, with the probability nonsense, it's either true or false, so we're just going to ignore that whole nonsense.
Also, if we look at the Bayesian version of this, the probability of H conditional on being greater than H, we can even make this argument in terms of the Bayesian version, right? So suppose I estimate the probability of Socrates' death.
I don't know! Stop doing Bayesian! Stop it! Bad! There is... The probability of his death is 100%! Because he's immortal! He's a mortal man! Just skip that part.
Provides...
Oh, he's obsessed with Bayesian, but he doesn't understand informal logic? Why? Why?
Evidential support for my accepting a proposition, then of course it's going to present as evidence. And this is the part I don't understand. To the naturalists that
Yeah, I know you don't understand it. Learn logic. That's true, but just because the video is dumb doesn't mean that the argument is also dumb. The argument is dumb, but that doesn't mean it's invalid. The argument's invalid. That's for sure. Oops, I hit spacebar again. Socrates didn't wear pants.
claims that arguments are not evidence, do they accept the fact that providing an argument for naturalism on the basis of, I don't know, naturalistic explanations for, let's say, religious belief is not evidence for naturalism? I mean, is that what they're saying? I mean, this is why I don't.
Wait, what was the question? Go say it again, because I'm not sure. I might have to do show a transcript to make sure that I'm getting this correctly. And again, I could have done this as a more ironed out video. So I do apologize. Where is it? Maybe we need to show timestamps because I don't know whether 420, 412, whatever number I'm on. But see, you guys, girls, and robots out there need to go and watch my other video that's an actual video. I put a lot of effort and energy into that. So go check that out while I figure this out. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Present as evidence is the part I don't understand to the naturalist. I'm not a naturalist nor a materialist. The claims that arguments are not evidence. Do they accept the fact that providing an argument for naturalism on the basis of, I don't know, naturalistic explanations for, let's say, religious belief isn't evidence for naturalism? I don't know. I'm not a naturalist. Also, that question is really badly phrased. No, if they agree that arguments are not evidence because that's the truth of the matter, then I would say that a naturalistic person wouldn't say that a naturalistic explanation for religious belief would just show that. But the argument wouldn't be the evidence. The evidence would be the evidence. So they wouldn't say that the argument is the evidence. So there you go. If they accept the idea that's true, that arguments are not evidence, then no, they wouldn't then say that arguments are evidence. What do you not understand?
Is not evidence for naturalism? I mean, is that what they're saying? I mean, this is why I don't understand the claim that arguments are not evidence.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how to give people wrenches at all. I have absolutely no idea how to do that. You drop a link, but you don't have it. You email me, whatever it is, Captain Desk? Captive Desk. Whatever. Email me that while I continue to wade through this mess. How long has this taken me? Almost 50 minutes to do a 6-minute video. Dang nabbit!
What I'm trying to say here is arguments can provide evidential support and thus evidence for a claim, especially...
No, they can't. The evidence provides the evidential support, not the argument.
If you take the Bayesian version of this. No.
I don't give a flying fuck about the Bayesian thing. I just don't. Just put the Bayesian up your ass. I don't care. I know it's another thing, and I don't want to get into that. No, I'm not going to debate Bayesian anything either. I'm an informal logic guy. That's it. I'm happy with that. All right, anyways.
Of course, this is conditional on the argument actually being valid and a sound argument. But if you...
Yeah! Okay, then here's the question for you, thinking Christian. Here's the $1 million+ question. if you don't have a valid and sound argument, and you don't have empirical evidence, and you don't have repeatable tests, what do you have? If your answer is anything other than faith, you're wrong. But here's the other question. How do you identify any given logical fallacy that an argument might have? What do you have to do in order to find out if the premise is true or untrue? What methodology are you going to utilize to resolve the matter? That's the question for you to answer, the thinking Christian. All right, I mean, 2 minutes more to go on his video, but I'm just gonna wind up being like here for 5 hours doing this. All right, fine, I'll do it.
Estimate that the argument succeeds, or you give it a certain probability
Waiting
of
for
success. Like,
Dave's email.
I estimate premise 1 is true with the probability of 1/2. Then, of course, it's still going to provide evidence for the claim. Lastly, let's move on to my second claim, which is presenting evidence is always an argument.
What? No. Presenting evidence is evidence. The evidence is evidence. Law of identity. It's not...
Strong claim. But evidence is always presented in the context of an implicit argument. And this...
What?
This is what the argument goes like. Premise 1. If evidence E exists, the probability of H conditioned on D is greater than the probability of H conditioned on not E.
What? If evidence exists, there's no probability in there at all. Why are you going way off kilter? If you have the evidence, you have the evidence. That's it. It is true because you have the thing. That's it.
Premise 2. E exists. I am presenting you with the evidence that you need for premise 1. And conclusion, therefore, the probability of H conditioned on E is greater than the probability of H, or greater than the probability of H before you had knowledge about E's existence.
What? This is what when you run into Bayesian stuff, you get this sort of weird ass stuff. You emailed me earlier. No, email. Oh, you wanted to email me those links? Not, I thought you meant like links to the video that I'm doing something on. I saw your emails here. So I thought you were talking about email or posting a link regarding what I'm doing right now. Anyways, so yeah, if you have the evidence, then you have the evidence. And so the evidence is evidence, and then the evidence is evidence. It's not an argument at all because it's evidence. And it's not an argument. So, no. Just no to this. Let's see. If it exists, it does exist. Therefore that. Jeez. That's so... That doesn't... But evidence is probability of... what? I don't do Bayesian. Okay, fine. You know what? Alright, fine. Where is this? Show me timestamps again. 5:25. Did you say it out? Yes. Okay. Let's be lazy about it because, honestly, I hate Bayesian crap. So, removing all the timestamps, going to ChatGPT, laziness prevails, screw Bailey and anything, the probability, no, fuck the probability. Yes, it appears to be a form of Bayesian reasoning, which is commonly used in probability theory and statistics. Are we doing probability theory or statistics right now? No, we are not. So why are we doing this? I don't know. but this is what we're doing. Let's see, how does this break it down? If evidence exists, then the probability of hypothesis, evidence is true, evidence to make the hypothesis more likely, okay? And then you've presented evidence in support of premise 1, okay? So the probability of H is greater than the probability before subagreement is asserting that the existence of evidence increases the probability of the hypothesis. It's a basic application of Bayesian and reasoning where new evidence updates our beliefs about the likelihood of a hypothesis. However, it's essential to note that argument's validity depends on the specific evidence and the context of the problem. In real-world applications, you would need to consider the nature and strength of the evidence, which is not the evidence itself. So, does that argument prove that evidence is an argument? The argument you presented does not provide the evidence itself is an argument. Instead, it demonstrates how evidence can be used within an argument or logical reasoning process to support a conclusion. Thanks, ChatGPT. I'm out of it. Thank you. Yeah, there you go, dude. Just no. There you go. Just put your stuff in ChatGPT. You know, okay. So that's it. That's all I have to do now. I'm just gonna do that because but why is he using Bayesian stuff? That's not informal logic. You're using the wrong damn system. Learn informal logic.
What I'm trying to say here, in other words, is the presentation of evidence is always in the context of an argument for a given proposition. Although, of course, this proposition could be trying to move you away from certainty on another proposition. It could be, oh, here's a possible thing. You may accept this position, but here's evidence that there could be another explanation for this, which may cause you to reevaluate your belief. So the conclusion you want somebody to accept may not be a conclusion. It may be your conclusion is like wrong, or your conclusion is too strong, or something like that. But in any case, the presentation of evidence has a specific goal, which is usually to establish evidential support for a certain conclusion. In fact, probably always the case. Otherwise, why are you presenting the evidence? You don't just say, here's this thing. You know, it's like, no, here's this thing, and it supports this argument. So evidence is in the context of an argument. An argument can provide evidence for certain propositions, but the presentation of evidence is in and of itself an argument.
Except it's not.
Yeah, so thanks for watching. I mean, am I just misunderstanding this? Because
yes, you are. Very badly. You are misunderstanding everything. Everything that you said is wrong. Everything you said is wrong. Everything you said is wrong. Stop using... How do you spell fucking Bayesian? I just had ChatGPT open and it told me, and Bayesian. Thank you, Bayesian. What the fuck where are you? Fucking Bayesian. Bayesian reasoning. Bayesian. Stop using Bayesian stuff on things you should use informal logic on. Oh my word! I screamed a lot in my live response because I hate with the S. I'll leave that in there. Bayesian blah. It's nothing. It's not. It's good for like. What's it used for? What the fuck? Oh, probability theory and statistics. That's it. But like, I don't know. I hate it. So screw it. I mean, yeah, it's good for those things, but not for logical arguments, because like that's informal logic or formal logic that handles arguments. But yeah, you got things wrong. I don't know if you'll watch my video live response or not, if you do, email me to let me know. Also, if you ever are perplexed on what I'm saying, next time, just email me. Lol. Okay. So, um, we didn't have an argument in his video that showed the thing that he was saying is true, because the argument that he used actually shows that evidence uh, isn't an argument, and also that arguments are not evidence. So at no point in his video was he able, even using Bayesian reasoning, which is not informal logic, but whatever, even doing that, he couldn't show that his arguments were what they said they were, because they aren't. Well done! Arguments are not evidence. They're not probability. They are just a thing that we use to try to persuade somebody. And ideally, if we're using a syllogism, then what we are doing is either formal logic, where you have all these symbols. You have A and B and C, and you have these little squiggly lines and all these weird ass symbols that I can't even describe. Okay, that's formal logic. Informal logic deals with normal words, everyday words that you and I would use. Lobsters and Snuffy and peanut butter. These are words, okay? And so I know my brain is going to bleep now. These are words. Yeah, shut up. Okay. All right. Physically hurt to listen to. What, me or him? No, both probably. That's mean. That's mean. Captive Desk Lobster. I don't even know what I was saying anymore. So, not even in his video did he give a valid and sound argument that showed that arguments are evidence or that evidence is an argument. He couldn't do either of that, even using Bayesian argumentation, which shouldn't be used for argumentation, because the system that should be used for argumentation, if you're dealing with words and not symbols, is informal logic. Thanks for watching. Let me know if I got any of this wrong, and I'm sure I got something wrong because I was doing it live. So, what's his face? Yin Yang Mountain. I'm gonna just send Yin Yang Mountain that video and be like, have fun, and see what he does with the original video. And yeah, that's it. And this video that you're watching now is done. So, that's all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for thinking. Be a, I don't know, lobster. Go watch the other video I did, because that one I put time and energy and effort into. Has like Star Trek in it. Scotty says the line. Somebody might recognize the line that I'm talking about, but only one person would know that line. Nobody else will know what the bleep that's about. But anyways, so that video, go watch that video. This one took like no effort. That one did. So go watch that video and then like it and then comment that you watched that video, because I spent energy on that video. Now I'm just repeating myself. Thanks for watching. Meow. What the hell? Meow. Really? That's how I'm gonna end it? Okay.